This Torah class is brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.
Okay, good morning everyone. Bruchim haba, and we continue in Mishna Berura Daf Hashavua. We're learning Siman Yud Aleph, Sif Yud Daled. Today we learn how to make tzitzis. Yikach arba chutim, Sif Yud Daled. You take the 4 strings, mitzad zeh on one side, the arba mitzad zeh, and 4 on the other side. Meaning this is assuming you already put it in. The Mishna Berura, or the Mechaber already said that you should cut the edges of the 4 strings and put them in. So we already put them in. So now that you put them in, you're going to take 4 strings on this side and 4 on that side, and you're going to tie it v'yiksher shnei pamim zal gav zeh. You're going to tie it twice, one on top of the other. So the 2 knots are directly directly on top of each other. V'yacher kach yichroich chod ha'aroich saviv hashiva ktsas krichos. Then you're going to wrap the longest string around the remaining 7, some wrappings. How many? Doesn't say. Some. So you know what some is. Could I have some cholent? How much is some? So everyone, it's some. Ktsas v'koisher shnei pamim zal gav zeh, and you tie twice. V'choizer v'korch, then you wrap again. V'chen yasa ad sheyashlim l'chomesh ksharim kfulam. You keep on doing this until you have 5 double knots. V'arba avirim b'neihem leim krichos, and 4 spaces in between them full of windings. Now, how many windings the Mishna Berura the Mechaber does not tell us. Ain't Shiur la krichos. The reason there's no Shiur. But rather, rak sheyu kol ha'karoch v'ha'kisharim roichav arba gudalim. All you need to make sure is that everything that's wound and everything that's tied should be 4 thumbs wide. V'ha'anaf shmoina gudalim. And the branches, meaning the strings that come out straight, should be 9 thumbs. That's very simple. The windings and the knots need to be 4 thumbs, and the strings that come down are 8 thumbs. So basically, the strings are double the amount of the windings. It says the Rama, Vim he'erechat tzitzis. You want to make long tzitzis? It's very in style now to have long tzitzis. You know, it's a good yeshivish look, or not even yeshiva. So it's cool, whatever it is. People like to have long strings. Yira sheshlishisa yeh gadil ushnei chalakim anef. The proportion, the ratio should be 1/3 gadil, a tassel, wrappings with the knots, and 2/3 should be the branches. And you know what? And the Mechaber is going to tell us that this is all the baseline halacha, but there's a minhag to do a certain number of wrappings between each knot. The Mechaber is going to say 7, 9, 11, 13, a total of 40. The Arizal says 7, 8, 11, 13. I think that's what I have. I think that's our minhag. But we'll see that in Eretz Hashem Monday. Let's see the Mishna Berura Sivkatan Samache Lekrichos. This is going on. There's no shear for the krichos. So it's a lemra leminyan hakrichos. How many windings you have to do? V'gam minyan hachuliyos v'hakisharim ein ma'akev midina. The number of spaces and knots is not ma'akev. Rakum mitzvah min ha'muvchar. It's just a choice mitzvah. What to have 5 knots? Ki hachamisha ksharim remez she'alidei yizkar hachamisha chumshei Torah. The 5 knots helps you, reminds you to remember the 5 books of Chumash. So when you see the knots of the tzitzis, you say, you know what? I really have to learn the 5 books of Chumash. Ukefilas hakisharim hachamisha yod. The 10 knots, the 5 double knot, which equals 10. Remez asara sfirois of shalakash bracha. It's a remez to the 10 sfirois. Kede isla kaman mesim chav dalad. V'tama chuliyos ayin bebeis Yosef. The reason for the chuliyos, look in the Beis Yosef. Yeah, okay. Somebody look it up. Maybe we'll have it by the end of the shiur. The reason for the chuliyos, you have to look in the Beis Yosef. rak sheyu. Okay. Just that you need everything wound and tied a width of 4 gedilim. But nothing more than that. In other words, even 5 knots, that's not legislated. Even 4 air spaces, that's not legislated. The only thing you need to do is have knots and windings, and at the end of the day, it needs to be 4 thumbs wide. Umadi isa b'sif yud gimel shem karach afilu chuya echad avar es shorish hadavar. In Sif Yud Gimel, it says you have to be careful to make 8 strings before you wind, because if you wrap even 1 chulya, which is a chelek of the tzitzis between the knot and the knot, and you make even 1 knot, it's pasul. So here's the thing. There it implies that all you need to do is a little winding and 1 knot, but that's not going to be 4 fingers wide. So, and here we're saying you have to have a minimum of 4 fingers wide. So it says Mishna Berura, avar shar shadar. Let me explain the root of the matter. Ki kibul chazal. Chazal have a tradition. The be'inon betzitzis gadil. You need to have a tassel. V'hainu shiyah mechurach. It has to be wound. K'may shakasav gedilam tasalach. V'gam yeh b'chutin nefradim k'dachsav tzitzis. It also has to be separate strings. That's why it says tzitzis, k'may b'tzitzis roishi, by the strings of my head, the hair of my head. So on the one hand, the Torah says you have to have wound tassels. On the other hand, it has to be separate strings. There's no biblical shiur midoraisa for the tassel. But even if you only wound 3 windings and you made upon them a knot, the gamzehu halach l'Moshe Sinai, which is also halach Moshe Sinai, mitzkayim bezeh shem gedil v'zeh kvar nigar mitzvah daraisa v'zeh tama Shulchan Aruch sham. That's the reason for the Shulchan Aruch. That midoraisa, all you need is 3 windings and 1 knot. And that's the halacha Moshe Sinai, and that's the da'iraisa. V'alzeh yesh lismach b'erev Shabbos imchashecha kishein lepnei lasis kasikunai. You can rely on this erev Shabbos as Shabbos is coming to do that, and if you don't have time to do more, you could go out with it on Shabbos. You could even make a bracha. Now remember, the baseline is 3 windings and 1 knot after the 3 windings, but it's better to have a knot before. You should make a knot in the beginning, like we do, to fulfill the opinion of some poskim who say it's that first knot that Chazal have deemed da'iraisa. Now, this is all midaraisa. So midaraisa, you could get away with less than 4 thumbs. I believe that 3 windings and 1 knot, it's like 1 thumb. Yeah, 3 windings and 1 knot is like 1 thumb. So what's the Mechaber saying here? You need 4 thumbs. We said earlier you just need 3 windings and 1 knot. The answer is that's midaraisa. V'chol ze midaraisa. Al midraban tzarich la'aseh shlish gedil l'shnei shlishim psil. Rabbinically, you need to make 1/3 windings tassel and 1/3 separate strings. The kivan sha'orach achutin yud is gudalim. Since the string has to be 12 thumbs, kanal b'siv dalid. Remember in siv dalid, we had the string has to be 12 gedilim, even though, by the way, there's an opinion not less than 4 gedil. But we're going according to the opinion of Rabbeinu Tam of 12 gedil, and that's the Rosh says that's the minhag. So therefore, you want to have 4 gedil as the tassel. Make 4 gudalim the tassel, which are the windings, and leave 8 thumbs of separate string. Shekachu noi hatzitzis. That's the beauty of the tzitzis. And the Dirshu brings from the Sefer Shiur and Shel Torah that since this is just a matter of beauty, we don't measure it to a T. If it's about 2/3, it's good enough. V'alkein im asa chulya achaz Rav Shabbos chashecha Therefore, even if you relied on the fact that you made one area of wrappings and a knot before Shabbos, you'll have to complete it after Shabbos. Otherwise, you're violating a Drabanan. So the Dirshu brings down a very interesting dikduk, a very interesting diuk, that's brought in the Sefer Halichos Yisrael, that he says you have to do it right after Shabbos. What do you mean right after? You're doing it at night? You're allowed to make tzitzis at night? There's a raya, you're allowed to make tzitzis at night, like the Pri Megadim says. He says, well, maybe you're only allowed to do the extra hiddur drabana, but you can't do the ikar d'oraisa. And in fact, the Shevet HaLevi says that even those who are machmir, that's only the kesher elyon. But if you made the kesher elyon by the day, you're allowed to make the rest at night. By the way, he also brings that they asked the Chafetz Chaim, are you allowed to make tzitzis at night? And the Chafetz Chaim said, yes. The Minchas Yitzchak says that the Pri Megadim says not l'charchila. The Stipler says that the Pri Megadim not l'charchila. And Rabbi Shlomo Zalman said that you're allowed to make it l'charchila. I always thought you're allowed to make it l'charchila. I thought there's no inyan of not making tzitzis. But again, from here you see at the very least that you could make the extra part of the tzitzis once the kesher elyon was made. Fine. There are those who are nichshol on this, and they say, all you need is the kesher elyon and a few wrappings. Roichav. It should be a width of 4 thumbs. Hanul charchila b'di'evet afilim karach rubai kasher. This is the charchila. But b'di'evet, if you wrapped most of it, it's kasher. Kapam yesh kan gam psil. Because as long as you have some string sticking out, it's good enough. Karach kula. If you wrap the whole thing, it's not called psil at all, and it's pasul. Arba gudalim. 4 gudalim. That everything that's wrapped should be 4 gudalim, im haksharim, including the knots. But so meaning, basically, since there are 4 spaces, so knot and space, each one should be 1 gedil. Uvaraya mehemna kasav. In the Raya Mehemna, we find that Sheyiyah bein kesher lekesher kemolei aguda, between knot and knot, it should be a thumb's width. Now, I'm looking at my talis katan, and I don't think there is a width of a thumb in between knot and knot. Maybe between the one that has a winding of 13. I got some Torah Anytime advice, because when I show you on the Zoom, they can't see it on the camera. The camera's a little higher. But look, my talis katan, by the 13, maybe you have a width of a gedil. By the 11, by the 8, no. By the 7, no. Now, really, the 7, 8, 11, 13 are supposed to be equal. But they're never exactly equal. It's always, the 13 is always going to be a little bit more. I mean, it's almost double the amount. So, some people have thick strings for the talis katan. I'm not a thick string talis katan guy. Some of my kids are into that. But maybe that's would be a reason to get the thick strings. This way, you fulfill this arizal. Again, according to the halacha, you do not need a thumb with the knot, without the knot. You could include the knot. If you include the knot, I am perfect. One second. Is it 4 thumbs? Yeah, I've got 4 thumbs, but I can't say that each one is a thumb. I think each one with the knot it is. But the Arizal says, Bein kesher k'mlaya godal. And the Dirshu brings the Stipler was not makbid on this Arizal. Why? Because our strings are so well processed that if you're going to have a goydel between each chulya, it's going to be too much space. Okay. I wonder do any of you have a thick string talis gadol? Any Eretz Yisrael knickers over here? You have a thick string talis katan, thick string talis katan. I can't see everyone. Now everyone's hiding. Yeah, Rabbi Yeager, you got a thick string talis katan? You got a goydel? You have a goydel? You're good. Look, I don't believe anything I see on the screen, but yeah, you have a goydel without the knot. By the 7? No? Okay, very good. So even the thick string, but with the 13, it's not a kunz. But by the 7, by the way, that's a good one. In Eretz Yisrael, they still haven't picked up on this chumrah. I want to be able to buy tzitzis on the hechsher. There's a plumba, there's a stempel. It says even the 7 has a malay goida. But again, the stipler says it's much harder to do it nowadays. Back in the day, their strings were all fluffy, Nowadays, they got the process down. It should all be equal. Now, I just measured. They're not exactly equal, but I think we could apply what's brought in the Sefer Shiur and Shal Torah. That it's a matter of it's a matter of beauty. So it doesn't have to be like mamish to the microscope, as long as it looks basically equal. In the first, the airspace where there are only 7 wrappings, you should make the windings a little bit far. And then by every airspace, a little bit closer. So it should be 1/3 tassel, 2/3 enough. Look in the Be'er Marshal, and according to everyone, it's not ma'akev b'di aved. There's a question whether could the strings be longer? Is it that they shouldn't be shorter than 2/3, but could be more than that? The Bir Allah is mashma earlier l'chadchila. It should not be more. Chazonish says no. It could be more. It just shouldn't be shorter. Okay, we'll continue over here Bez Hashem Monday. Thank you, everybody. Bracha v'atzlacha.
You've just experienced another Torah class brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.